Captain Marvel, the Nickelback of the Marvel Universe. Their long-suffering fans forced into silence by chattering review hounds. But this week, Ms. Marvel fans from across the globe, for one glorious weekend, get to sit united in their passion, for their silent pleas have not gone unnoticed, their faith rewarded. For, much like Oppenheimer, they will witness the impossible, the implausible, the splitting of the very source of their enjoyment, their happiness atom into not two, but three Marvels, releasing an immense glow of energy spread out across 105 minutes. The brightest flame burns the quickest. Indeed, this is the shortest Marvel movie ever made. Cut down because test audiences required medical assistance to calm their quivering hearts. And you know what? It's a magnificent 3D movie. It starts with some flashbacks to the first Captain Marvel movie, which was a stellar stereo experience, perhaps among the very best 3D Marvel movies, and this one stands beside it very well. Space is given a nice hyper-stereo treatment, which helps emphasize the comic book feel of the adventure. Planets and stars look round like big basketballs in the air. Spaceships poke right out against the starry backgrounds. No, it's not realistic at all. The 3D is about as subtle as a one-legged kickboxing tournament, and I enjoyed every moment of it. This moment of casually passing by this ice ring was brief but beautiful. And I admit, seeing hyper-stereo space things brings out the little boy giddiness in me. It's something my eyes will never naturally see, and that's what I want to go to the movies to experience. This hexagonal space hole is a major plot point throughout this entire film, and the worlds on the other side of that hole are always seen deeply pushed back, giving these magnificent window effects. It never looks just like background, because you can sort of see the tear take up its own space, and then you can see the world behind it, and yet you can also see the space background in the other world, and they're not in the same area, so it looks great, like a living doorway into the unknown. Now, towards the end, there's an interaction with one of those holes where we see what can only be described as a kind of conical triangle of space lasers that are being used to control one of these openings. And we see this cone from several angles, away from the camera and then pushing out from the camera. It's a great 3D moment. And close-ups, too, are just like the space shots. The stereo only has one mode here, and that's to go big at every opportunity. There are lots and lots of hologram scenes, too, which always are fun in 3D. Throughout the movie, they casually use a see-through iPad that is neat to see in stereo space. It pops up in so many shots that I found I was starting to take it for granted, which I guess is a standard of success in effects land. So, well done. There was maybe one moment where they were using a jump rope where I felt some conversion artifacts might have showed up. Hopefully a 3D Blu-ray will show up someday so I can pause and take a closer look. There are people who like stupid, and there are people who do not. And most of the time, they can put up with each other, but sometimes there are some things that push one group or the other to their limit, and they just feel compelled to reject what the other side is absolutely relishing in. And I think this is one such movie. It's gloriously stupid. It goes from silly to absurd to pretty much insane, and I got a massive kick out of it. I like fun. I like silly. This is a silly movie. Some might argue whether it goes into self-satire, but I think it manages its adventure well enough amongst all its goofiness. I do not compare it to, say, Love and Thunder, where the silliness was directly intended to deconstruct the hero, and by extension, the audience who came to see him. With the Marvels, I never felt the joke was on me. I never felt the humor was attempting to belittle anyone or any type of person. Having said that, I don't believe there was a white male found anywhere in this movie, so maybe that took took it off the table. Now, the first Captain Marvel had some fantastic cinematography that was a dream to see in stereo. Here, not so much. Occasional sets felt like they were lifted out of 70s-era Star Trek, complete with styrofoam rocks. And although a couple of worlds did have a hint of Marvel grandeur, the staging never quite grabbed me. The look is mostly not terrible, but certainly doesn't compete with any look that I've seen in a past Marvel movie. I'd go so far as to say there are many moments where the 3D was actually the best thing about the set. And I think that may make the stereo feel even a bit less than what it actually was. We spent a lot of time in fairly sparse space, ships in rather ugly hallways, a sitcom house, locations where you wouldn't really think the 3D has a lot to do. But a dull triangle hallway still comes alive at the behest of stereo. The 3D never disappoints. And there were times where I felt the stereo was actually carrying the look and feel of the environment because, frankly, there was nothing else to see. I suppose that's something of a backhanded compliment. Still, I guess my point being, I can't imagine seeing this in any other way. I saw it in IMAX 3D, and it did the aspect ratio shifting thing. So those space moments really do come alive and fills the entire box. The aspect tended to shift when we went from an outdoor moment to an inside one, and it felt very natural. Going from a square to a rectangle just feels like going inside. Now, yes, I am well aware that every reviewer from here to Wakanda is joyfully tearing into this with the appetite of a carnivorous flirkin. For me, though, this was a good experience. I had fun. I'd watch it again. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. And I'm trying to think of something.